If you follow streamers or the gaming community more generally, you've probably seen a lot of Fall Guys lately. It's kind of a new hit game. So I thought that I would try it myself and see if it actually lives up to the hype. It's really fun, but I'm also kind of disappointed. So let's get into it. First, some basics. Fall Guys is a party game where you play through a series of minigames and try to be the last man standing at the end of 5 rounds. It's often called a battle royale game because your goal is to be the last one standing out of up to 60 people, but I would think of it more similar to Mario Party, like the TV show Wipeout, but in video game form. Some of the mini games are races, some are competing as teams, and some are challenges where you just try not to be the first one to die, basically. And it's a really fun game when you first start playing. It's sort of quirky and whimsical. You just do silly things in a lot of the levels, and there were many moments where I genuinely laughed out loud, which isn't, that common for video games, when my character got flung across the map, or when you see all 60 people in the game trying to get through this one small door at the exact same time. I also enjoyed getting to try new levels and sort of learn the best way to approach them as I return to those levels again and again. It's a really great game to just pop in for a few quick games because the games themselves, the rounds, are so short. And it can be a fun game to get some laughs with friends because it's so silly with your characters and other characters being flung around and stuff like that, which is probably why it's so popular with streamers right now. It would probably also be a fun game to play with people who might not usually be into video games because it's so casual and such a party type game. It doesn't require a lot of skill to get into it. I do have a lot of criticisms of Fall Guys though. So smaller things first, some camera angles are just awful and you really can't see anything at all. Also, if you lose a round and you don't quit quickly enough, you have to wait for 30 seconds until the next round loads and starts again until you can quit. I also ran into some hackers during my time playing Fall Guys, which completely ruined those games for me when the final round ends in 3 seconds. But I also had some bigger criticisms of Fall Guys that are perhaps a little more damning. First, some of the 24 minigames are just not fun, or they're just way too long. For example, the matching minigame is just boring. You memorize where these tiles are. We don't even need to do that because you can just follow everyone else when they go to the right tiles. A lot of the team games are also kind of boring or just way too long. You often have very little control over the outcome on those because, you're playing on the team and you don't control everyone on the team. My other big criticism was that some of the movement controls are kind of weird or overly clumsy. The game is called Fall Guys, so you do fall a lot for reasons such as smacking into other players or getting smacked by spinning rods and things like that. But you also sometimes just randomly fall for unclear reasons, or sometimes when you're trying to turn, you just fall over instead. I also found jumping around the edge of platforms to be somewhat unreliable, which could be extremely frustrating at times. I think that these clunky controls are probably a result of the same physics engine that, that allows you to be flung across the map when you hit the windmill, or those kind of funny things. But it also leads to this weird momentum or just movement in general. There's also just a lot of randomness and luck involved with who wins or if you progress or not. Don't get me wrong, there's obviously skill involved in winning, and if you know what you're doing, if you learn the right moves and stuff, you can do a lot better. But it's really a game that isn't designed to always reward the best player. And that's fine because, it's a party game. But if you're going in with a super competitive mindset, you're likely to end up frustrated or just not have fun when you fail at some of the more luck-based mini games. When I went into Fall Guys either a little irritated or in a competitive mindset, I didn't really enjoy it that much, but I had a lot more fun when I went in more casually when I didn't care if I won or not. If you want an actual competitive game, there are just a lot of better options out there. You can also customize your bean, your character's look in silly ways, and there's a battle pass of sorts that gives you skins as you play through the game. But fortunately, it's completely free. You can also buy some skins directly from an item shop, but there is no distinct premium currency. This means that by playing the game, you get the same currency that you would buy, and so you can use that currency if you play enough to buy every single reward in the item shop. And of course, these skins don't affect the gameplay itself. There's no pay to win, and there's no gambling either, which is nice. So is it worth buying? There is a reason that Fall Guys is so popular right now. It's a fun, silly, quirky party game that's super easy to pick up and enjoyable to play, even if you're not that great at video games in general. Because there's so much luck involved, you're not gonna get stomped by someone who's just so much better at the game than you. So it's probably worth picking up at $20 if you're the kind of person that enjoys those silly games, those quirky games that just aren't too serious. But if you do want a super competitive game, there's a good chance you'll be disappointed in Fall Guys, and I just don't think that it has a lot of staying power. Some of the minigames are just boring. Even for the ones that aren't initially boring, I personally got done with a lot of them pretty quickly because they're just so simple. There's not a lot of game mechanics there. There's not that much depth. I think that most of my criticisms of Fall Guys are addressable. They can add more levels, they can nix some of the boring ones, they can fix some of the bugs and such. And I don't think that Fall Guys is necessarily a fad, because the game does touch on something that people really wanted, which is a fun, accessible, silly party game for people to play together. But the gameplay just isn't that deep, and I'll be surprised if this game is still super popular 6 months from now. If you played Fall Guys yourself, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments as well, because I think a lot of other people enjoyed it perhaps a lot more than I did. Please like this video to help me out if you enjoyed it or found it informative, and I'll link some other reviews of mine in the description down below you can check out. Thanks for watching.